Hello, this is Bob Patrick talking to you from beautiful Vancouver Island on a rainy November day. And we're here on the shores of Comox Lake. This is a lake that is about 30 kilometers long. It's about 100 kilometers deep at its deepest point. It's a very large inland lake on Vancouver Island, and it's supplying drinking water to about 45,000 people. These are people within the Comox Valley area. The intake, the water intake for this lake is actually in the Puntledge River, but this lake was formed as a reservoir, dammed in the early 1900s, initially for hydro generation, hydropower, but it's now largely serving for drinking water supply for those 45,000 people. What's interesting about this waterway, though, is that it's not just a water supply for those 45,000 people, drinking water that is. It's also a recreational area. In the summer, you can imagine speedboats out here, kayaks, canoes, people swimming, people in the water, all kinds of recreational activity, camping, picnicking, and all of those uses having potential impact. Fishing as well. It's a very popular fishing lake. So all kinds of motorboat activity on this lake and human activities on this lake that have potential to impact the water quality, that is the drinking water quality of this lake. So when we talk about source water protection, we're often talking about those human uses that are going on in and around a lake that have potential to impact water quality. An oil spill, a gas spill, some form of accident on this lake, whether it's a vehicle that ends up in the lake when they're launching a boat. There's houses along the shoreline as well, and looking at some right now, those houses all have septic fields or septic tanks, so the potential upland pollution as well coming from residential homes. There's domestic animals, so dogs and cats, and just human use along the shoreline, cutting trees, removing vegetation, and altering the shoreline all have impact on the water quality within the lake. So it's very, very important to keep in mind that your water system doesn't start at the water treatment plant or at the tap in your home, but it starts at places like this, a lake that is used by multiple users and people living on the lake shore, recreating along the lake shore. So how do we protect that? Well, first, I think, is education. Letting people know when they're launching their boat that this is a water supply lake. Reminding people that doing anything along this lake shore has potential to impact the lake. So trying to keep animals, domestic animals, out of the water. Ensuring that there's adequate washroom facilities at these boat launches so people can actually go in and use a proper washroom, even if it's an outhouse facility that is properly constructed, that is properly maintained, so that we can look at minimizing those impacts. The septic tanks need to be pumped out annually. They need to be inspected regularly to make sure that they're functioning properly. And any new houses that are coming in along this lake shore, where houses are allowed, you would initially want to zone it so that the lake was protected to its maximum, so that new homes and new residential developments and roads, that sort of thing, were kept to a minimum. But where housing is allowed, making sure that the houses are set back at least 30, if not 50 meters from the shoreline, and that septic tanks are kept well maintained, and also ensuring that they don't drain into the lake body itself. Boats should not be fueling on the water. They should be fueling on land so that any spill can be contained on the land. And just ensuring that uses that are going on the water are not going to emit any pollutant into the water. So that's really what source water protection is looking for. It's looking for zoning regulations to minimize developments on the foreshore. It's looking for parks and recreational assets to be in place, things like garbage cans, things like outhouses and proper burn pits, proper picnic areas, that they're not too close to the water, and that they're not contributing to any sort of contaminant into the lake. Ensuring then also that people are aware that they're on and recreating in a lake, and that they behave responsibly to keep that water safe. These can be used as recreational resources, but they need to be used very, very carefully so that there is not a problem. A bit of pollution in this lake could shut down the water distribution system and cut off water for 45,000 people, and that would be catastrophic. So we don't want that to ever happen. So we need to be mindful and keep in mind that this is an important waterway for human drinking water.